Guys, we have a major BBL update and I need you all to pay attention. Last month we talked about the Elena story, about a young girl who went to a Sinosure hospital for a correctional surgery relating to a previous BBL she had done in the past. And weeks later, it was said she passed due to complications from the surgery. If you recall, the details of the story was that she was rejected from 2 hospitals she had contacted for the correction. However, Sinosure Aesthetics signed her up for the correctional surgery, in which we hear was successful. There is the thing here. The hospital did clarify on their page that Jessica Elena was indeed their patient, and the correctional surgery, like we already said, was successful, and they referred her to a tertiary healthcare facility in Mushin to continue being cared for post the surgery, to continue getting cared for. Now, we don't know what happened in that tertiary hospital. Put in mind, it's currently being investigated. What the hospital did say again was that while she was at the tertiary healthcare facility in Mushin that they recommended, her family took her somewhere else. And that is a place that was not mentioned. And it was in the new location that Elena passed. And I think this is the gray area that the Lagos state government is investigating to find out what really caused her passing. Did anything happen at the tertiary healthcare facility, or did something else happen to the new place that the family of the girl took her to for care? The problem with the investigation is that we may not even hear the outcome of it, because it reminded me of the story that happened in 2022. The young Port Harcourt girl by the name of Christabel, who also allegedly lost her life during a BBL surgery at the same clinic. If you recall, back then, Christabel's story was the one going round. It was the one that was big and popular, and they said that she died during the surgery while she was at the hospital. And we were also told then that they were going to investigate and find out what would happen. And we never got to hear what happened. We never got to hear the updates. However, I have an update to that story from 2022. And it's a bit shocking, actually. Now, I'm going to be very careful on how I put this story so I don't catch a lawsuit. Apparently, it turned out that Christabel's story from 2022 was actually investigated. In fact, they did take the hospital to court. And during the proceedings, they found out that the hospital was not at fault and she did not die due to the BBL complication. In fact, she was due to be discharged the day before she suddenly had a reaction, or she suddenly had some complication. And generally, when it comes to BBL, one of the top leading cause of death in this surgery of BBL is fat embolism. It's a situation where when they are injecting the fats in the bonbon, somehow it gets into the vein, gets into the bloodstream, and then, causes death in a way. Now, pay attention. So, if you also recall, when Christabel's story was trending then, there was this claim that it might have been a friend who poisoned her. But that was a rumor spreading. So we did not follow that rumor through because we didn't want to catch a lawsuit and we were waiting for the investigation to be done. It turned out that the investigation was done, the case went to court, but we never got an update to this story. The only one thing that we got was a statement the hospital put up back then. It stated that they did no wrong, that in fact they have evidence to prove that it was not the surgery that caused her death. And part of their evidence was a statement of Christabel's friend that was present the day before she passed, and a CCTV footage. This was the statement we heard from the hospital back then. And then it makes you want to question, what do they mean by the friend's statement? Or what do they mean by the CCTV footage? What does CCTV footage and a friend's statement have to do with somebody who died from BBL surgery? Something about that statement kind of raises a lot of questions. And it gets even worse. So we got to learn that during the process of finding out what really happened to Christabel, they noticed that the friend that was around her started acting funny. She started asking questions. And do you guys have CCTV? I hope you guys don't have CCTV. There's CCTV in this hospital. And that was what kind of prompted the investigators to check the CCTV footage in the hospital, which it turns out that they have so many around the facility. And what they found was something out of a movie, because in the CCTV footage, which I believe that was what the hospital was claiming in that statement back then, they saw the friend of Christabel giving Christabel a specific pill, some kind of drug, something for her to take. And that raised suspicion. It even turned out that the friend was looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right, looking at her corners right before she gave Christabel the pill. Initially, it was said that it was suspected that the friend had poisoned Christabel. And it doesn't just end from that CCTV footage, because they still need to know what was given to Christabel and why the friend would want to give her whatever she gave her. When they ran a toxicology report, it so turned out that it was the medication the friend gave to Christabel while she was recovering from her BBL surgery that caused her death. And they said that medication had some sort of caffeine, some sort of substance in it that was not healthy or helpful for her in that situation. But it wasn't poisoned by the friend. The friend didn't directly, actively had the intention to kill Christabel. It is a drug that they say that girls take when they're in their period. And that was how that story was thrown out of court, never even got to the end of the trial, and the investigation ended there. But here is the thing. If the friend of Christabel caused her death, why wasn't she reprimanded? Why didn't it make the news? Why wasn't it updated? Why didn't she get dragged too? Because we searched everywhere to see if there's an update on the friend, but nothing. For Elena's story, I guess we'll just have to wait for the investigation. Hopefully, time don't just pass and then we all move on and forget like the rest of them, because that is what usually happens. These things happen, we hear it on the news, it's everywhere. The government comes and tell us, oh, we are investigating, and 1, 2, 3 years down the line, they're done with their investigation, their conclusion, their findings, but we can't hear it because half the time the result is given to the families of the victims and they don't disclose it. Or the medical practitioner, the facilities, and they don't disclose it. And we are only left with half-baked stories. Anyway, we'll try our best to follow Elena's update up to just see what really led to her passing.